Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
And that's that. We can stand up and fight and ride all day through the night. We can make this change right and see our hopes and our dreams come to fruition. It's time to unite as one, calling out to our founding fathers. This is our mission to make you
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Humanity Awakened Radio. I am one of your hosts, Phil McNamara, and I'm here with my co-host as always, Brian Boland.
Hey guys.
And today, also just to let you know, we have a very special in-studio guest, our friend here at Humanity Awakened Radio, Chase Browning.
Hello there.
Hi Chase. And we're going to be talking about a bunch of things.
Oh, you ready?
Wow.
Here, take some water.
Little frog
I got
there.
this. All right, so yeah, on this episode, I'm really excited about this. Basically, what we're going to be doing is kind of like a roundtable interview on past lives. So Phil and Chase have some very interesting past lives in which both their past life experiences intersect with meeting each other in past lives. So I know from what Phil has told me that when they both met each other in this lifetime, they immediately knew that they knew each other. And they've been extremely good friends ever since. And how long have you guys known each other in this lifetime now?
About 4 years now.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And Chase, you're 24, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So as we can see too, this is very interesting with the just timelines and how they work. And they're both completely different ages, but they still, met up through various friends and completely different age groups. And they're good friends, and I think that's part of how our soul family works. And we'll always incarnate with a similar or the exact same soul family. And you guys are going to hear a lot about that in their past life testimony. I myself do not have any memory of past lives whatsoever. However, both Chase and Phil say that they have known me in past lives. And the second they told me that, I was like, okay, we're doing a show on this. This is happening. And I'll be the moderator. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going to be moderating this episode, my first time moderating, and kind of, going through. This is all going to be in the moment. They started telling me parts of their story. I said, no, we're going to save it for the show. I want to get the reactions, as they happen. So this is going to be really fun.
Absolutely.
Before we jump into it, Phil and I and Chase, we all attended the Conscious Life Expo this weekend, and we just kind of wanted to do a brief run through and breakdown of some of the new things we learned, and a very vital announcement for humanity that was had at this expo. So Phil, I know that you went to go see Laura Eisenhower, and I didn't get to see that lecture. I love Laura. I've gotten readings from her in the past, twice actually, and seen her speak live many times, and she's just completely incredible. So Phil, tell us a little bit about what you learned at Laura's lecture.
Oh, wow. Okay, as some of you may or may not know, Laura Eisenhower is the great-granddaughter of Dwight David Eisenhower, who was the President of the United States. She is among one of the most prolific speakers in this field. and she also speaks really fast.
Yes.
There's so much information pouring through this woman that it's really hard to actually grasp it all. This talk was mostly about the she spoke a lot about her friendship with Corey Good. They met.
Really?
Yeah, they met. They've become very good friends because
Really?
she apparently had a very similar experience to his, where she was also pulled into the secret space program.
Really?
She was offered to be involved in the secret space program to go to Mars. However, her intuition told her that she should not take that deal, and she's very glad she didn't. And as a result, she's come forward and started to talk about it, as well as her extensive research in the occult, the reptilian agenda, and consciousness and the divine feminine.
Yes, and a lot of her talk was about the divine feminine, and it was. I to be honest with you, I wish I'd been taking notes, but I couldn't have even kept up with her, even if I did, because when she comes at you, she comes at you both barrels, and you gotta be ready. But
You never are.
you never are, because she's always and she's very mesmerizing to watch. But it was an extraordinary talk, and it was hopefully they'll have it up on the Conscious Life website.
Streamingforthesoul.com, I believe, is the production company that was recording everything. I actually bought Sean Stone and Dean Ryan's workshop disc last night, so I haven't watched it yet, but I'm really interested in checking that out. What else did Laura and Corey? What did Laura talk about with Corey? I'm very interested to hear about that.
She was very, very complimentary of him. She went to go see him on Monday night. She was Friday night, on the night that he spoke. They've become very close friends because they've had such a similar experience, and a lot of the things that she has been talking about dovetailed exactly with what he's been talking about. The Mars colonies, the slave colonies on Mars, that we are entering into a very, very powerful time in our world's history, in our planet's history. This is a very, very crucial moment. Most of you probably know, you're probably feeling it, that there's an energetic shift going on, and this Conscious Life Expo, by and large, was mostly about this energetic shift. It felt like a lot of people were talking about it, and they could feel it. And ever since 2012, it's one of the things that Laura did bring up, that during all of this, we have sort of switched focus in this world to a divine feminine. And because of that, a lot of the male stereotypes, a lot of the male energy is still here, but it's starting to fade, and there's more. It'll be the rise of the divine feminine, and that just doesn't mean women in general. It means the energy of rebirth, of life, of what's the word I was looking for?
Reception.
Thank you.
I've seen a lot of this just in the last couple generations where, let's say my father's father, in that type of generation, you were taught when you had feelings to bury those deep down, not talk about that. And just 2 generations later, I mean, we are becoming a civilization where it's becoming okay, not just okay, but empowering to talk about how you're really feeling. And I know that's how I live my life. That's how I live my life with all the people in my life, my relationships. It's how I build spiritually, and it's extremely important right now, and I embrace that.
Yes, and also, it's okay to cry. I do it on a daily basis. So it's something that I was also taught when I was a kid, that it was okay to cry. I lived with as a single parent with my mom, and so my mother was very, very nurturing. And a lot of this, what we're talking about now, Laura was talking about, was the nurturing part of this yin and yang of masculine versus the duality of masculine and feminine. And so we're entering. The scales have tipped now, so we're going to see a lot less. We're hoping to see a lot less brutality and violence, and moving more toward a nurturing, caring, loving energy.
I'd be very interested to see sports fans with this new divine feminine type of energy coming in right now, how people become less rah-rah about their certain sports team, about the competitive nature that is the masculine energy. and coming to a place where we're more compassionate and loving. And this doesn't, like, when I first heard about the divine feminine, the first thing I thought of was woo woo hippie crap, and it's but once I just kind of like allowed myself to listen more and identify with this, I said, there's something extremely special here, and this is exactly what the human race needs, not just to thrive, but survive.
Absolutely. You have to have one and the other. It's very important to have both. And her talk was really it was really good. And I wish I could have taped it so I could have had more notes on it. But it was so fabulous.
Well, you can buy it at streamingforthesoul.com.
Oh, there you go.
They're
So,
just $10. So
I
anyone
can't
who wants to review this information, what we're talking about, you can go to streamingforthesoul.com and buy or stream, I'm assuming, these lectures from this past weekend. Let's get into some of the things that David Wilcock said.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could have stayed with that whole thing.
Well, the first Friday night was more just about, more disclosures with Corey Good and all that. But then there's kind of something kind of controversial that happened between Saturday and Monday, where Stephen Greer did a lecture, and he was talking about the blue avians and how... You want to take this?
Okay,
Phil?
yeah.
And
apparently, here's how it works. So there is a time frame in which full disclosure has to occur. The Blue Avians have told, I guess they told Corey, and they told David, or they told David through
here's
Corey.
where it gets weird, because I never heard Corey actually say this.
Yeah.
Which is why this shocked me when I was told this information. And he's even said, he's the only liaison between him and the Blue Avians right now.
Right.
Which makes me question why and how Stephen Greer got this information and the way that he said it. But we'll continue.
Well, basically, there's two timelines, and the first timeline is the one that the Cabal wants. And the Cabal wants to drip this information out. So it's not very effective, and and according to their timeline, it will take 100 years to get this information into the hands of humanity, and that's not acceptable.
Well, basically what this timeline is we're looking at two different timelines now. We're looking at the partial disclosure timeline,
right,
and we're looking at the full disclosure timeline. Right. And the way that I've understood it from seeing the different lectures, and I'm hearing Phil, talk about this too, is the partial disclosure timeline is what's happening right now. Now, both these timelines, I think, are going to kind of bounce back and forth between each other. And so right now we're having disclosures, water on Mars from NASA.
Right.
And that's just one part of, partial disclosure. All these little leaks in the way that they wanted to try and damage control this information, because they're being strong-armed into having at least some kind of disclosure. But apparently we're on some kind of 10-year timeline. And I don't know how...
what I understand is
whether that's true or not, or what's going on, we gotta kick ass and take names as far as getting this full disclosure. That's the bottom line right now.
Right. What I understand is that if the Blue Avians have apparently said, if we don't get it within the next 10 years, it will be at least 100 years before we can have another window to get at it again.
And that's the New World Order timeline, just to be clear.
Yeah. And that's not going to happen.
And that leaves it up to us to become more militant about getting out there and getting things done and forcing the government at B to do what we need.
Well, according to David Wilcock, when he actually addressed this on Monday night when I saw his lecture, he said that basically partial disclosure timeline will only come from mainstream and the government.
Right.
The full disclosure timeline will not come from mainstream sources, will not come from government. It will come from the alternative community. This community,
which is what we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we're doing right now is we're advocates for the full disclosure timeline. Our whole basis for this show has been living in a post-disclosure world and bringing this information out right now, and that's part of our conscious co-creation. Right now, we're living on a projection for that. This is becoming more easily digestible by all people. Cognitive dissonance is, I would say, at an all-time low. Absolutely. Compared to what I've ever experienced in my entire life, and it's only getting lower, and people are getting more open to this information. So if you are in fear and talking about this to your friends and family, now is the time to talk about it with them more, because cognitive dissonance is lower, and also too because, I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a New World Order timeline whatsoever. Also, I forgot what I was saying, Phil. Take it.
Yeah, let me just bring this in real briefly too. And I put this on my personal web page, on my personal Facebook page, but I may actually see if we can get it onto our Humanity Awakened radio page too. All of the people who have worked for the secret space programs, the Lockheed Martins, the any of the the Skunk Works, any of the that have signed that have signed secret pacts with to not divulge information. According to Stephen Greer, who's done all of this research, none of those secret pacts are legal. So that means that you can talk about these things openly because, how are they? Realistically, how are they going to prosecute you if it doesn't exist? So all of these things, he's already gone in and done all the research, talked to all the appropriate people, and one of the things that he said in his lecture is that we need to let everybody know within earshot of us, wherever they are in the world, that if they work for one of these secret space programs, if they work for one of these aerospace companies that has been doing clandestine work, to come forward and say, this is what I've been working on. And a lot of you that work for these places are working on one tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle that you don't know exactly what it is you're putting together, but you mix it together with 75 other pieces, and suddenly you have a ship.
This is called compartmentalization.
Yes, and so I will endeavor to put what I put on my Facebook page, and make sure that you put it out there and you let people know that if they're working for these companies to come forward and start talking about it, because the more people that come forward and start talking about it, the faster this process is going to move.
One thing I want to get out there is that my concern for the screen memories put on the many times young children who get indoctrinated into these programs.
Which programs to be specific?
Just like the 20 and back, like Corey Good did. As a
That's
child,
yeah.
he was brought in, and a lot of these kids are brought into these things not knowing this when they return. They think they've been out on a field trip, and they have no idea what they've been subjected to, both drugs and basic invasion of their mental state. It wasn't just a month or two ago where I woke up in a fervor from a very vivid dream of myself and my 7th grade class up on Mars. And we were crossing this newly made bridge brought down by some lava beds, and I was with my 7th grade teacher, and he was with a general of the United States Army. And I was conversing with one of the other classmates I was with, telling him about how I used to be here 2 years prior, and how I was tasked with surviving for a couple of days, and how I survived under a persimmon tree of all things right next to a lava bed, which I noted to him that it was gaining a lot of nutrients from the lava bed's ashes falling onto it. And the breathing was hard, and eating was very difficult, but I did it. And after waking up, I was in a total panic. And when I started telling Phil about this, I started getting an anxiety attack. Like, I'm not
let's hold on just a second. Let's hold the phone here. Phil,
yeah.
did we just break another whistleblower on the show?
I don't know. I mean,
what just happened?
When he told me this story, I honestly was like, it hit my forebrain, and I went, is he telling me that he's having a screen memory experience right now?
I don't know.
And
Okay.
we just don't know.
Here's what I know. You mentioned you had anxiety when you thought about what? Let's be clear
My
about
heart's
that.
beating like a drum right now.
Okay. What? No. Okay. What happened when you started? You just got the anxiety, or when you tell a certain part of the story, you get the anxiety?
Even bringing it up gives me anxiety.
Okay, so this is part of post-hypnotic suggestion. Whenever people start to remember these kind of memories or screen memories, it's part of the post-hypnotic suggestion when these things are happening in a debriefing. When whoever is doing your debrief or your hypnotic suggestion, they will tell you, if you remember this, your heart will start beating like you feel like it's beating out of your chest. That's a command. And or like you will have such crazy anxiety that you won't be able to even keep going forward. Well, I see you're getting very emotional while I'm saying this, but this is good. This is part of your awakening process, man.
I want to believe it's a dream,
Hey,
but I don't know.
all of us here have had these crazy dreams
We've
and
had-
past lives and all this, and we're gonna get all into it. But I am so stoked that that just happened right now, because that's great.
And when he disclosed this to me a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh my God. There's so many things that go on, and then you guys, over the next course of time, will get to know Chase hopefully as well as I do. I consider him probably one of my very best friends in the whole world, and so we talk about everything, and we've been through a lot of adventures together, and so
It's not an accident that we're all sitting here right
Not
now
at
together.
all.
It's just the way
Not
that I
at
met
all.
Phil. It was just such a crazy synchronicity that happened. It's not an accident that we're on this doing this show together.
we
That
are.
I've met Chase, and this is all freaking awesome. Something else that you need to read, Chase, is called the Mars Records.
I've never
I just
heard of
started.
that.
I just started rereading it today. Actually, there's 4 free downloadable books online, and anyone who thinks that they've had experiences like what Chase is talking about, read the Mars Records. Go to themarsrecords.com. It's basically a set of books, and the first one came out in 2000, and basically it's about the exact Corey Good story, but this happened 20 years before he came out, or 14, 15, 16 years ago, whatever. But it's about this guy's military service on Mars.
Right.
And I believe his military service happened sometime in the 70s or 80s, and I think he was on a 20 and back as well. I found this book randomly online, maybe 5-6 years ago, and when I first started reading it, I just knew I was in over my head, and I didn't understand all the stuff that was coming out. But now hearing Corey's testimony and then going back through this book, it's crazy, man.
and Captain K too.
And this is a classic. This is just like Captain K's story, the military branch of the secret space program. And something else that is really awesome about the Mars Records book is that they're doing. I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name of the type of. It's a type of regression where you're awake, and they have you strapped up to different like needles and dials, and they're showing that the meters of what's going on in the regression. As the story's going on. So if the person is feeling an evil presence, something called a rock slam will happen right as the situation is happening. And you see the readings go up and down in measuring, I think it's their heart rate or something. And keep in mind, I'm trying to remember this from years and years and years ago when I read it. But I'm going to get more into it and talk about it more on the show, because this book is vital, and I feel like more people need to talk about this because it really validates Corey's story. It's validating some of what you just said, Chase. And these are something called Warnrick commands. Also, too, is what it's referred to in the Mars Records book. So it says right at the beginning in the foreword, like, if you're interested in alien abduction, metaphysical abilities, and something else, I forget what else it said, you probably have had these experiences, and if you read this book, you will start to remember them.
Wow, that's incredible.
What I'd like to look into is the removal process of those.
They have a 20-part DVD
Okay.
of how to remove all this through kinesiology. So for anyone out there who feels like they're having symptoms like Chase, like this is removable, and you have to be, and there's a solution out there.
And what's amazing to me is, as I was talking to you about it, breaching the subject, my heart was beating like a drum. I was breathing heavily. I couldn't think straight. And now it's as if I'd never said anything.
What's also crazy about you saying that is that this exact thing happens in that movie, American Ultra. Did you guys see that?
I have not seen that.
That movie is about MK Ultra programming, and basically, the lead character Jesse Eisenberg, he has these complete terrors when he tries to leave and go on a vacation in a plane flight. He can't make it into the airport. He's freaking out in the bathroom, and like they keep trying to leave and leave the state to go on like a vacation with him and his girlfriend, and he can't do it. And later on, they find out in the movie that he's actually been a programmed MK Ultra sleeper assassin, basically, and and he's been given a post-hypnotic suggestion that if you try to leave the state, you will have these crazy anxiety attacks and terror. And folks, this isn't make believe. Chase just experienced it
I
right
was
now.
sitting right next to him when he did it, and
Yeah.
and it happened to him the last time he told me the story too.
I was so shaken that I was even crying. My hands were shaking. I was sweating bullets. It feels like a dream, but it was so damn vivid. It woke me up from sleep. I immediately looked up both Dreams on Mars and Dreams about Persimmons. Nothing really enlightening there.
If you want to get more information on how to dig deeper into this, something I would recommend is get with a licensed hypnotherapist that can guide you back through in regression hypnosis. And they'll say, how you go into it is focus on an experience or what you think is a dream. And a lot of this screen memory programming will get dripped back into the subconscious through dreams.
Right.
So, so there's solutions out there. I would definitely start reading the Mars Records book. Stephanie Ralphie is the author of these books, and she is the one who's been doing the procedures, whether it's regression. I know you're in an awake state when you do it, so however she does it, there's readings, that scientific evidence to prove what's going on behind the people's stories.
Right.
Which is very incredible. Whereas with regression hypnosis, there is no way of scientifically proving what's going on.
One thing to note about the dream itself, it was my science teacher of 7th grade. It wasn't. I was going to a Catholic school at the time.
What state and where?
Here in California at a. I can't remember the name.
Was it near Palo Alto at all?
It's on Olive Boulevard. In
Los
Burbank.
Angeles? Okay, Burbank.
Yeah.
I'd be very
St.
interested.
Finbar's.
I'd be very interested to see if those were any of the places where MK Ultra extended their reaches out to different universities and different
It was a private
schools.
institution.
And
Sure.
well, there's
Possible.
There's records of what places they had teachers and different people with doing cover ops, like basically doing their experiments involuntary on people there, and then some voluntary.
Yeah,
so
I'm not going to say...
I would definitely say that this program has expanded much farther than the official ending of MK Ultra, which I believe was in 76 or 73.
No, 76. I think it was going on, and it's been. And just so you know, if you can look it up online, you can see that it was actually declassified and admitted to. So it was going on, and a lot of people were affected by it.
Ted Kennedy was even involved in this in the congressional hearings of this.
Yeah. And so, just real briefly, I just want to touch on this point too. One of the things that Corey had talked about, which is sort of what triggered all of this, was that in his own experience, he was 17 years old when he signed onto this 20 and back program, and he was taken into space for 20 years. So he was 37 years old when he was done. He was age regressed back to 17 and deposited back just a few minutes from when he left. So there was the implanted screen memories, according to what he's talked about, is that
this is crucial.
A large percentage of intuitive empaths do
3
not...
3 to 5%.
3 to 5, yeah. What was it?
It's 3 to 5% of intuitive empaths. These screen memories do not work. They start to wear off, and these people completely remember all their experiences. And I would guarantee you that this is probably how Captain K remembers. And I would go as far as to say that you were probably an intuitive empath, Chase.
Well, I've been dealing with energy work since I was 7. I've been playing with energy, talking with animals.
That's when Corey Good said his age when all this started happening
Really?
for him was 7.
One thing I remember from listening to Corey Good was that a lot of these empaths, they don't make it through the entire program. They are debriefed, screen memorized, and sent back to their daily life, knowing none the wiser. I'm wondering if I was one of those that didn't quite make it into what they were looking for. I can't say for sure, but to be sure, I've been always attracted to intuition, building, meditation from a very young age. So much so that I was estranged from all my classmates. I was very much older mentally. I couldn't connect with kids my age. I could only connect with adults ever since I was a little boy.
I'm really starting to wonder right now if we've all known each other not just in past lives, but possibly in the secret space program in a way that we cannot remember.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Because,
especially since I have a terrible fear of heights, so the idea of going to Mars would not be at the top of my list.
Well, I've had two people in the New Age community come up to me and just being in my presence, in my aura, like Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot being one of them, saying, "You were a super soldier." And like you just have that vibe to you. And then Melinda Leslie also came up to me at Contact in the Desert and said the same thing. Like, you've been a super soldier either in this life or a past life. And I don't remember, I don't know, but I've had two people who don't even know me come up to me and say that.
That's interesting, because when we first started breaching the subject of past lives, the one thing that stuck out to me was remembering you from old Germany as a soldier. Like,
and let's be clear, you told me this story. I was not a Nazi.
No. Before Germany was even known as Germany.
When it was Gaul.
Yeah, Gallia.
Yeah.
Whoa, you even had the accent there. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was trippy.
There's I don't believe at any point that there's any such thing as a coincidence. And,
no, not at all.
And
our universe vibrates off of synchronicity.
Absolutely, it
coin that.
Boom, done. That's going on a T-shirt.
I've stopped believing in any such thing as coincidence or happenstance.
Yeah. Real quick, guys, let's just end this Conscious Life Expo real quick and just jump into the past lives.
Right.
I have some notes here that I want to end this with, kind of bring it around on a positive note, and something that David's life work is built up to his latest Spontaneous Ascension lecture that he did. In all his books, and I'm really proud of how he put this all together, is his science behind spontaneous ascension. In this last lecture, he really just made it happen. So here we go. Here's some of my notes from the lecture. Photons, which is light, are tetrahedral Merkabas. Let's just let that sink for a moment. When he pointed this out, and I know how big Phil is with Merkabas, and
Merkabas.
I'm gonna be honest, like I don't know as much as Phil does, or oh wow, okay, so Chase has the Flower of Life tattoo on his chest, which is incredible, and all light is a Merkaba. For anyone who doesn't know what this means, Phil, would you like to explain the implications of what this means?
Okay. Wow, I don't even know where to start. Okay.
Let's do it in a like maybe a minute or less, so we can move forward.
Really? All right.
Maybe 2 minutes.
Everything alive is surrounded by a Merkaba. That means that it's a star tetrahedron of energy that in human beings, once activated, can be programmed and used for everything from ascension to space travel. It is it's tangible. I know that I have mine because when I did a sound healing about a year ago, the person who did the sound healing, who also went with us to the Conscious Life Expo this weekend, saw my Merkaba and didn't know what it was, but when he described it to me, it was very clear what it was.
And you said you've been working on this. What do you mean by that? Because in the last couple of years, you said you've been working on that.
Okay. Ever since I found out what this was a couple of years ago from a man named Drunvalo Melchizedek, who I reference a lot. He's a spiritual teacher, and he is mathematically mapped the Merkaba. It's really important that it takes a lot of meditation on it.
Hold on one sec, Phil needs a little water.
Sorry, my throat's really dry today. I don't know why.
Sunny out.
But this energy form usually goes about 60 feet around the body. It's a star tetrahedron. It's 60 feet around the body. It can be programmed and used for ascension, for travel, for intergalactic and interdimensional travel. It's something that we used to be able to do, apparently, and have lost the ability to do. And so just in the last few years, Drunvalo Melchizedek has actually been one of the forefathers of bringing this technology, and it is a technology, into being. And if you want to know more about him, you can go to his website. And it's a very complicated name. If you type in the name Drunvalo, Drunvalo, it'll come up under his last name. I couldn't begin to tell you how to spell Melchizedek, but he's sort of the father of this technology. And the fact that David Wilcock mentioned this in his talk was really exciting to me. that means that the universe itself is a Merkaba. And that means it resonates, it is alive, it has energy, it's incredible. And it's, and also, I worked on mine by doing meditative practices of actually visualizing it forming around my body. There's a specific meditation that you can do that you can download his books on tape and stuff like that, and get all the specifics. But you can also go on YouTube and look up a lot of this stuff too, and learn about it. It's a very key component in ascension, and I've been talking to Chase about this a lot, and when I found out that mine was activated, I was extraordinarily excited. I was really, really happy because I knew that now I have an ascension tool. For me, that was a cornerstone of my awakening process. And so
let's continue.
Yeah,
then.
please.
That was beautiful, Phil. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so the next notes we have are the first photons turned into a sphere. So the first light Merkabas turned into a sphere, which created the first primordial sun. And then to galaxies and so on. So if you guys want to take that in for a second, this is the building block of all life, and kind of what Wilcock's saying here is that this could be responsible for the Big Bang, or some form of that.
One thing I'd like to note is when the Merkaba is created, it generates this toroidal field.
He talked about that a lot.
You can visualize it as, say, the middle of the core of an apple, breaching out and basically cascading around and pulling back up through the bottom. Much like a tree grows, spreading out its roots down and out, and its branches up and through. You can even see this in the electromagnetic spectrum around the Earth itself, and also...
Oh, yeah, in Thrive.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the whole thing they're showing in the Thrive movie. Oh, now it finally makes sense.
and also the human body
Just
creates an
watching that movie, I was
electromagnetic...
like, what the heck is that?
It's toroidal energy.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah, the human body creates the same form of the toroidal energy electromagnetic field around us. And I believe that Merkaba is at the very center, in the heart area. That's actually why I got the Flower of Life tattooed on my chest.
Take this as the 7.83 hertz stream of resonance field that's around the Earth is the scientific evidence of proof of our Merkaba light being activated, one for the Earth and then one for us, because we have an electromagnetic field surrounding our bodies as well. So this is like the scientific, physical, or non-physical, however you want to look at it, emanation with electromagnetic field is actually evidence of our light being, light body.
In ancient teachings, I'm pagan, so one of the core concepts is as above, so below. In the grander scale of things, things are replicated on a smaller scale to help better understand the universe and one's place in it. That goes both physical and metaphysical. And it's interesting to be seen in down...
But as below, so above as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
And you can see that in atoms and the way they spin. It looks just like a solar system.
Okay, here's something crazy about atoms that Wilcock was showing. He said basically some people showed the scientific equation of the square root of 1, which is an impossible number. And he was showing how it just created this graph. And when you zoom in on this graph, it's basically the emanation of scalar energy to the point where it creates scalar fractals. So the more you zoom in, the more you pixelate, it just keeps creating not really a copy, but endless fractal continuations of itself. Kind of, so picture it like a kaleidoscope kind of, except when you turn the knob, it keeps zooming in and it keeps repeating itself after a certain amount of time. The more you zoom in an endless zooming in, and it was just the most incredible thing I think I've ever seen. And that his whole talk was basically on sacred geometry and how the building blocks of our universe is based off of sacred geometry.
Yeah.
And this topic was really wild. I gotta admit, at first it was kind of, when Wilcock gets into the hedrons and the sacred geometry, it's hard for me to follow along because my mind isn't thinking that way a lot of times. But towards the end, like, just the way he put it very simply, photons, light, all light is a Merkaba. His evidence for that just blew my mind, and it makes sense. And actually, so he also mentioned that the ancient mystery schools say that your light body is actually ascending just by knowing this information. And I gotta admit, just by him telling us this, I was just like, oh my God, like I felt like an energy come through me, just him talking about this. And this is really powerful stuff. This is part of the ancient mystery teachings that the Illuminati do not want you to know about.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's saying that in these ancient mystery schools, how people would sit and meditate and just visualize three-dimensional Merkabas, or three-dimensional, dodecahedrons, or the different kind of hedrons, and this is supposed to get you closer to ascension. And this is very powerful stuff to know this. He also went in to talk. By the way, at the end of the lecture, we did a meditation. He always ends his lectures with meditations, and this is the first time that I was able to. He showed 3 hours of slides on three-dimensional Merkabas and different hedrons, so it was very easy to envision this in your mind. And I envisioned the Merkaba in my mind during the meditation, and I gotta tell you, I went to the deepest, the quickest, most intense energy feeling meditation that I've experienced that before, but after I've been in a meditation for at least 15-20 minutes, and the second I did that, and I was envisioning triangles in my third eye and Merkabas, and I was vibrating with energy, no joke. I encourage everyone to try this. It's pretty wild.
One of the best physical meditations I've ever done was actually drawing out the flower of life, circle by circle, just creating the grid, spiraling out. And I was so entranced. 2 hours had passed by, and I just felt brimming with energy after just concentrating on each circle as it unlapped. And
that's part of a remote viewing technique as well.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I took a couple of remote viewing classes a couple of years ago, and can't remember if it was with the Flower of Life, but part of the training techniques is to really know all the angles and all the a lot of it is drawing, because when you view a target in your mind, you're supposed to draw it out.
Right.
And the more comfortable you get with your mind and hand connection to whatever you're envisioning, that improves your remote viewing capabilities.
If it's possible, I'd like to put my drawing up on your website.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, we can throw it up on our social media.
And
Perfect.
and also, it's one of the things that I'll put this out there too. Man by the name of Jordan Pierce, who does all of the spirit science videos. One of the exercises that he also talks about is what Chase just said, is drawing the circle of life as an exercise in meditation and calming the spirit. Mm-hmm. And apparently, I have not tried it because I'm not very good at drawing, but I'm actually going to give it a whirl. Apparently, it's something that really works. So I'm always down for trying something new to keep myself calm.
In order for me to keep it gridded, I just used a bottle cap to do perfect circles, and I just moved it each point.
Okay.
You don't have to be a good artist to do this. You could do this at home. Just find a center point, start the circle with that center point at the very center, and you can work your way out on each facet of that circle.
But definitely look up the Merkaba if you don't know what it is. Merkaba. Or BAH, depending on how the spelling is.
Basically looks like a Star of David, but three-dimensional.
Three-dimensional, yeah. Okay, so the last note I have from David's lecture, and this is pretty incredible, and this actually links back up with the story that I told a couple episodes ago. Here we go. It's called the Simvartika Fire, and the story's I believe he said it was in the Mahabharata, which is an ancient Indian text.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically their Bible. And so this story is about the Simvartika fire. Simvartika is basically God in this text. And basically he's describing how he's describing the time we're in right now. Straight up. It's kind of crazy. He's describing this partial disclosure timeline and all this other really intense cryptic stuff. And then he goes on to say how there's going to be basically the Simvartika fire, which is basically this rainbow explosion of energy coming from the sky or the sun. And it's basically a multi-dimensional flood of energy. And when I heard this, I kind of just put my hands up in the air and just was astonished, because I don't know if you guys heard a couple episodes ago where I'm describing some of the intense dreams that I had during my ET experiences. But this is my dream that I had where I'm describing that psychedelic flood of light coming from the sky, or just this multi-dimensional colors, some colors you couldn't describe in three-dimensional terms, and this intense feeling almost as if I was dying. Like I never died before, but I've never experienced something as intense as this. And I also felt almost like as if in the dream I was being turned upside down. And there could have been a pole shift happening in the dream at the time where this multi-dimensional flood of energy was coming in.
Wow.
I used to think that this was the 2012 December 21st Mayan calendar end date experience where before, and then after that happened, I realized, okay, that didn't happen. Holy crap, could this be ascension that I'm experiencing in my dream? Here's the flip side, because we gotta have a little duality.
Right.
I've also had a dream of me experiencing an event where, okay, so I had this dream that I'm about to say when I was living at my parents' house in Palos Verdes. The dream occurred, no joke, in Los Angeles on Sepulveda and Washington Place. There's a gas station right there, and I'd never been there before during the time I had this dream. Now I know it to be the corner of Washington Place in Sepulveda, at that specific gas station where all the trees are and everything are surrounding it. And for those of you who can visualize this in your mind, I was in my Nissan Altima, which is a car I drive now, and I remember this dream so vividly and clearly, and I remember feeling the water drops of mist or rain coming from an incoming tidal wave or tsunami, something like that, and me feeling the energy of knowing that I shouldn't be back towards the coast. However, I needed to come back here for some specific reason, and then I was about to start heading east away from the coast, but I was pretty close to the impact zone, and then that's the end of the dream. So after hearing David's lecture last night, I kind of put these two things together, is that I've had visions of the future through my dreams, of one, of the ascension timeline, and two, of the catastrophic timeline. Which is pretty powerful. And so David's talking about too, the Samvartika fire is going to have these two timeline splits where the people who are on the negative path are going to experience the cataclysm, and the people on the positive path are going to experience ascension.
It's interesting that you bring up the tidal wave of waiting for it to hit. I've had a dream about a half a year ago. I was actually right off the 101, and I could see this tidal wave coming, and it did hit. And I woke up as it was crashing onto me and everyone around me, other cars being lifted out, and it was chaotic.
So I want to make sure just not get everyone to fear that this isn't.
There's no tidal wave coming.
Yeah, these are two possibilities of timelines.
Right.
That we see in our dreams.
The future isn't set in stone.
It is not. No. It is completely can change. It's changing all the time. But also these two timelines probably will happen. But some people, depending on which side of the coin you're on, more positive or more negative, you will experience. Let's say you're on the negative coin. You'll experience the negative timeline of the cataclysm to be devoid of all that extra karma that you need to ascend.
Right. And also, just as a third wheel here, I also had the tidal wave dream, and I've had it, and it may be just because we live near the coast, but I've had a reoccurring dream of a tidal wave that just comes in and wipes everything else. And also, I've had another dream where Los Angeles and the area around it is also becoming it's like a new city. It looks like LA, but completely modern. Everything's been upgraded, and there's beautiful green trees and everywhere, and they're letting all the fruit trees and everything grow all around, up and down the streets, and people can just walk by and pick the fruit off and you see kids eating fruit and just walking along the street. So I've had both of those experiences too. And maybe a common theme. You may be one of the people that has that same theme too.
And
so
also, you've had a lot of dreams of us in the future too. I'd like you to share a bit about that.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's just get into it.
Okay.
Real quick, before we move forward, we're already at almost 50 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
Should we just go for it in this episode, or make our own episode on this?
I don't know which to.
How long do you guys think you want to go for?
I know.
We could go for a while.
I think we should wrap up with a bit of the future dream, because I'd like to hear that, and then get on to the past lives.
Okay, so let's wrap up with the future dream, and then we'll go in and record the next episode right after this one.
Okay. All right. So in this dream, I'm standing where I was at this point. I was standing on a cliff overlooking the Aegean Sea, which is in Greece, and Jace is standing next to me. I am close to 100 years old, which I'm 50 now. I'm actually 49, but I'm getting used to saying 50. I'm 50, and Chase is just about 25 years younger than me. He looks pretty much the same, except that he has white hair. When you see him, he's got this blonde curly hair now, but in the stream, his hair is white, and he looks really good. He looks much younger. But he also has two blue ocular implants that look, the only way I could describe them is in one of the Star Trek episodes, one of the movies, Geordi LaForge, who's the blind engineer, has his visor removed, and he has these two eyes put in. And they look similar to the eyes that I see Chase have. And we're standing there laughing and talking as we're looking out over the Aegean Sea. That's probably in the next 50 years. So that's pretty cool.
Something that I noticed right off the bat when you told me that story was, first thing that entered my mind, I was like, Google Glasses.
Very true.
Yeah, and I mean, these things are not that far off. These things are maybe 5 years off, and this sounds like some very much higher level improved Google Glasses.
I'm anticipating computerized contact lenses.
It's going to happen.
Which produce the...
People are going to get sick of having the glasses on them and want to upgrade to the...
I want to wear glasses. I want to
I've been wearing them for 10 years.
And that time we'll have the iPhone 15 probably.
Oh, God. Augmented reality.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode.
Yep.
We're going to get right into the next episode after this. So if you guys are interested in checking out the next episode on Chase and Phil's past lives, tune in. We will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for watching.